In the school, you know, you don't just learn about academic skills like math and English and social studies. You learn, like, especially in Bongo, you learn more about life. They prepare you for life, like, because life isn't easy. And they try and make you understand that. By acting, we understand it in a way. And also by the things they teach us, by combining the psychology and all that other stuff together, it shows us why things happen the way they do, and, you know, a whole bunch of things. And it's like when you go outside and you're ready to have your own job and your family and everything, I don't know, you know so much.
It's important to use other subjects, for one teacher to be involved in other subjects, because life is like that. And in my life, I'm interested in many, many things. And I don't see myself as a giver of content to kids. If that's what I see myself as doing, then of course I've got to bottle myself into this content. But if I see myself as someone who's teaching the kids how to follow their own interests and learn, you know, if I'm interested in genetic engineering, how do I find out not just more about engineering, but where does that take me? You know, it takes me into how does society deal with what's coming up with this issue.
These facts were known but never taken into consideration.
So what you're saying is that one scientific solution can lead to another scientific disaster.
Exactly. Our tools are simply inadequate at present to measure the true long-term consequences of how this decision will affect other aspects of the evolutionary process.
Can you be more specific? How does this relate to the case of genetic control?
I think science is the perfect subject to team teach, because science to me is not so much a body of knowledge or content as a way of learning, a way of looking at things, a way of examining what we know. So in our Bongo team, Charlotte Wellen and I try to use science as a tool, once we've taught some science skills to the students, of looking at literature, of looking at the most important ideas that people in society forever have come up with.
Why learn about ecology and about the food chain except for trying to understand the role pollution plays, and then the role that man plays in pollution, and then what role does the teenager have in trying to stem that tide of pollution in this world?
The tenor of the times, or the time itself, lends itself to a theme very readily. For example, in 1983, we were right on the tail of 1984. And I said, wow, you know, this is perfect. Let's read the novel and let's study utopian society.
And of course I jumped right in and said, well, if we're doing utopian societies, let's not only do 1984, let's do Brave New World, because having from a science background, I said, boy, we can do genetics, and we can do cytology, and we can do evolution, and it brings in all these social themes, and I was just so excited about the whole thing, and we thought our theme was going to be genetics and utopian societies.
What we found after doing the novels and after having the students create their own utopias, that they came up with a much stronger and much more important theme, and that is the question of when do the rights of the individual infringe upon the rights of society. All of our work from that point on went back to that important question, and when the students wrote their play, that was the question that they asked.
Will eliminate the disease?
Yes, but we may also eliminate blonde hair, certain muscular abilities, immunities to diseases we just don't know.
We will eliminate the disease, but possibly many most importantly life-preserving human characteristics as well, as correct?
Yes, possibly.
Thank you, that will be all.
So the defense attorney wished to cross-examine.
Yes, I do, Your Honor. Dr. O'Brien, would you mind repeating the description of your occupation?
I'm a professor of environmental genetics. I do research, I also teach.
Exactly what do you teach?
I teach a course in modern genetics and environmental genetics lab, and sometimes in comparative anatomy class.
Don't you teach anything else?
I occasionally teach a course in comparative theology.
Comparative theology. And what gives you the interest to teach such a religion class?
Theology, not religion. I have a degree in theology.
And when did you receive this degree?
When I was studying to become a teaching sister of charity at Fordham University in the early
A
60s.
teaching sister. Then shouldn't we be calling you sister? You seem to let out the fact that you are a member of the clergy. But doesn't this bring an Italian perspective on your testimony? Aren't we in fact confusing science with religious beliefs?
Absolutely not. I can assure you that my testimony is valid and scientific.
I object, Your Honor. The witness's credentials were clearly demonstrated.
Objection overruled. Please continue,
No, Your Honor, I must object.
Please, Mr. Power, let's see where this line of questioning leads.
Everything interlocked, it wasn't just like this is this and this is the time for that. You found more in each, like you might be doing English, but in that you'd find something about religion, you'd find something about English, and find something about social studies, and find something scientific in that, it was like you learned 5 things from one thing rather than just learn one thing.
That whole cycle that we studied, Zen philosophy, psychology, I think we also discussed then, nutrition, we did some running, we did a little furniture building, we all made individual chairs. The whole class, I remember that class in particular, we were all really tight with each other. But we also did a Japanese tea ceremony, and we learned everything about that and how that works and how it was done. We tried to duplicate that as best as we could. We built chairs, and everybody made a chair out of the materials that you had, and it wasn't, most of the chairs weren't a traditional looking chair. They all were a piece of yourself and what was going on in your life at that time. And we wrote a play called The Empty Chair. I was a superintendent.
I can't deal with this. I'm not strong enough. It's not worth it. Not when it hurts this bad.
Your money, it hurts. It hurts real bad. But I've seen you running away from every real thing since you were a child. I think this is the first real thing that you face since you were a boy. Take it from me. Take it from me. Deal with it. Deal with the pain. And then ask yourself if it's worth it.
What we found is that psychology became the thing that helped us personalize all the subject matter we were dealing with. That the human interaction that we have as individuals, the interaction that students have with their parents, that they have with their boyfriends and girlfriends, that they have with their peer groups, are the same human interactions that drive history, that drive governmental relationships, that drive the way governments and individuals use science, that certainly drive the characters in novels and things of that nature. And it's the thing that most students are interested in. And when we actually teach them about psychology, they feel empowered. And they got a whole bunch of those people, and they tried to look at what made them healthy. And they came up with this idea that people had needs. And if you could fulfill those needs, then you could go on to doing the things you wanted to do. But if you didn't get the needs fulfilled, then you couldn't go on to others.
Right.
What do you think some of those needs are?
Love.
Love. Why do you say love?
Because she was looking at me.
Figure me out.
Why do you say love?
I don't know. I think everybody needs love from parents and friends.
Is that the first thing that you need?
No, first you need the basic necessities. Food, shelter, clothing.
Security.
A lot of times I went home and I was learning, I came home and I said, yeah, well, you're at the security level and you're at, and 16, because I'm 16 years old, they would say, 16? How old? You're 16 and you know about Maslow and Freud and
yeah, you know, Bongo.
And Paul said, I want to do running and bicycle riding in Bongo. I was really scared because I was sure that those kids were going to really beat me down and see what a wimp I was. What I found was that when I felt good physically, I felt better mentally.
And what we found was, just as it was helpful to Terry in not only feeling more physically fit and therefore feeling mentally better, with all the students, with Terry, with myself, with everybody, meeting a physical challenge gives you self-esteem that coaches have known about for years. But of course, we've always taken these activities, these these activities, and put them after school, where they're inaccessible to a lot of students. And we're certainly saying to students, they must not be important, because we're not putting them in school, we're putting them after school.
Right. The other thing is that it builds into the students something that they can not only take out of the classroom and do by themselves with their families and with their friends, but it's also something they can do for the rest of their lives.
Biking and dancing and aerobics and running and going on field trips, a lot of that is still in me. I remember one time we were biking to, I think it was to Staten Island. We stopped in the Woolworth building and we discussed when the Woolworth building was built downtown and how it was paid for in cash and everything else. We also, that day we went to Staten Island and we went to a museum, and I've gone back there a few times. I stayed with biking a lot. I went on a long distance ride to Montauk, and I really enjoyed that.
Sometimes it's our everyday existence, the events of our lives within the school community itself that determines our themes. Like the time a few years ago when we were moving into a new building and we were being inundated by architects who were making plans and being asked whether we should have a nursery and what the requirements should be for the theater classroom. And so we turned it over to the students and we decided to study environmental design, art, and psychology, and we did a theme that was based on the idea of behavior.
Without us going further, and this is probably not what Dawn had in mind at all, but what you already know about environmental design, since we're studying environmental design, what does this have to do with environmental design?
That you can't concentrate. Like if you're in a noisy area, you can do it if you try, but you can't really concentrate.
Well,
Set your mind.
it depends on the it depends on the person. Like maybe I could live in a noisier place with more space for myself, but maybe she needed just quieter and might not need as much space because that's me. That I didn't like when people were touching me. I didn't mind the noise.
Anyway, for the literature, I'm thinking about using Israel Horowitz's Rats, where the baby is in a crib with a rat, and it deals a lot with Skinner kinds of psychology.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing we were going to do. We figured the real basis for this, the thing that's going to hold the art and the literature, like she said, is the psychology. I mean, as you know before, we do psychology all the time, but it's usually not the central core of what we're doing. But this time it really will be the central core, because we can do not just Maslow and Freud like we do.
We can do Gestalt.
Right.
We can do Skinner. We can do a little bit of behavioralism. We can do all kinds of experiments with them.
But you don't want to get really overextended because you're going to end up losing the purpose of what you're doing.
Right.
Psychology was taught through the traditional lecture format, but then incorporated in theater games. This led directly into experiments the class created in order to make reports and suggestions to administrators planning the school renovations. Intense improvisations and acting sessions led to improvisations like the following. In this scene, a wife is dealing with her rejected husband 1 month after she has been raped. The student actress is directed to concentrate on both her emotions and her physical environment, the kitchen.
I can't take this. I can't take the denial. Why you aren't just speaking to me anymore? Please.
Give me some space, all right?
What did you think was gonna happen? This was just gonna go away?
No, I didn't think that. But you could talk to me.
I can't.
Why?
I just can't right now. I can't.
Please. I really need you tonight. Just talk to me, sit down. Just let me know that you care. I'm trying to show you that I care. Please touch me.
Look, I know, all right?
It just
It's
doesn't
more
seem-
than I can handle right now, all right?
How you think I'm taking it? You think I like it?
I don't know.
The ultimate play which arose from this improvisation utilized all the elements of psychology, the effect of the environment on behavior, in this case a broken elevator stuck in the darkness between floors, and playwriting and acting as it had been studied during the course of the term.
You think you have me under your power because I'm stuck in here? We're alone? You're in control? Well, for 6 months, I've been avoiding you. Haven't let you touch me. Hardly get any sleep. Never talk. But what about what you've been doing to me? You dance around me as if I was made of hot coals. You turn on the TV, and after I sit and stare at you for a while, you feel guilty. And you try to be affectionate. You tell me that it doesn't matter. Well, how would you know? Not once did you let me tell you what happened. And every time I try, you change the subject. Jim, I was raped. And you are my husband. And I don't want to hear about the memo from personnel or your mother's fruitcake recipe. You say you want to get over this, Jim. That's what you say. But then you sit in your dark corners. You hide in your darkness. Well, not anymore, Jim. This time I'm coming in, whether you like it or not.